I think one of the biggest things that I can think of is that when you think of flying private, you can just get a jet and go anywhere you want. And while in theory there is a solution that can be arrived at based on the trip, but you can't just like grab a jet and fly anywhere. Not every aircraft can fit on every runway. Not every aircraft can carry every single person or baggage or thing you have. There's limitations on, you know, if it's hot, if it's cold, if you're in the elevation, if it's a long flight, it's a little more complicated than just getting a jet and going where you want to go. There's a lot of coordination that has to go, a lot of vetting and approvals, and if you're flying internationally, it gets even more complicated with getting overflight, getting permits to land, coordinating customs and all that stuff. So it's not as simple as just I'm gonna get a private jet and I'm gonna go to Bali for the weekend.
There's a lot more to that, right? Yeah, that's. I think we've been maybe spoiled with the Uber and the DoorDash of the world, and people think that they can get everything right to their doorstep pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
the instant gratification is definitely permeated into our culture today for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about a little bit more on the business side. We were talking about more leisure or vacation travel, and so on and even medical, and so now more on the business side. When would it make sense for a business owner that has the money and is running a great business? When does it make sense to where they start flying private?
That's a great question. I think kind of the big drivers of that for business owners is the time that they can buy back by traveling privately. We can get you closer to your final destination. And say maybe you're a real estate guy and you're going to look at a remote property. Like if you look at commercial, you're going to fly into a big international airport and you're going to have to drive 3 or 4 hours depending on where this property is. I'm completely making up this scenario, but with a private aircraft, we could get you in and out same day, close to that piece of property it is. Or maybe say you're an investment person and you got a deal you got to close and you have to get there today to close this deal, and there's no way you're getting there on a commercial flight. Another big driver is privacy and security. Some corporate teams require certain levels of privacy and security, which just lends itself towards private aviation. If you kind of think about some of the more prevalent incidents that have occurred, like it makes sense for some level of executive to have that privacy and security. Think about a guy like some of these big Fortune 5, Fortune 10 companies that they don't necessarily want to be walking through a commercial terminal. So those kind of things, so the time they can buy back, their privacy and security, and just kind of the control of the schedule. Say they have 3 back-to-back meetings in a couple of days across different cities, like it gets really challenging to try and do that on commercial aircraft. If you get a layover or if you have a missed flight, if the flight gets delayed, something happens, it gets really challenging to make all those meetings if you got to be there on a commercial flight. The other big bonus is that in a private aircraft, the cabin basically becomes its own working environment. You have basically most private aircraft these days have some form of Wi-Fi, whether it's Starlink or standard aviation Wi-Fi, that they can actually be productive on the plane